to say anything. If it may harm your defence, if you do not mention in question something which you later rely on in court, anything you do so may be given in evidence.
I've read like an air of arrogance or control about you where you just think possibly you're better than everyone else and you're untouchable. Is that what it is? And that you weren't going to get found out?
My name's Niel Foden, I'm the strategic head teacher at School de Finance.
A head teacher who's made a superhead and a familiar face on TV.
Students at a comprehensive school in Wales are being told that they won't be allowed any more school meals if they're more than 1 pence in debt.
But behind the public persona of a trusted figure, he was hiding a dark secret.
He was considered to be a powerful, influential person in the community that he served. It's clear that he took advantage of that position.
This is the story of how a head teacher wielded his power like a weapon. How he groomed not just his victims, but an entire institution. How a man who publicly spoke about safeguarding children was secretly destroying their lives. And how the very people meant to protect these girls looked the other way again and again and again. Before we dive deeper into this case, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button, tell me where you are watching from, and turn on notifications. Because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about how predators operate in positions of trust. And if this video gets 10,000 likes, I'll release a follow-up covering the recently published review that exposed every single failure in this case. What you're about to discover goes far beyond a simple abuse case. This is about systematic institutional failure. About how a sophisticated predator manipulated everyone around him for over 40 years. About victims who were brave enough to speak up only to be ignored. About a man who created a culture of fear so powerful that teachers were afraid to challenge him, even when they saw the warning signs. The investigation revealed something chilling. Niel Foden may have been abusing students since 1979. That's 44 years of predatory behavior. Police believe there could be 20 or more victims. But only 4 girls' cases made it to trial. The others? Their trauma hidden. Their stories untold. Until now. To understand how this happened, we need to go back to where it all began. Niel Frederick Foden started his teaching career in 1979 at Ysgol Dyffryn Ogwen in Bethesda, Wales. He was in his early 20s, ambitious, charismatic. He rose through the ranks quickly. By 1989, he joined Ysgol Friars in Bangor as deputy head. Just 8 years later, in 1997, he became head teacher. This wasn't just any school. Ysgol Friars is one of the most prominent secondary schools in northwest Wales, with around 1,200 students. And Niel Foden was about to turn it into his hunting ground. On the surface, Foden was the model educator. He became an executive member for Wales in the National Education Union. He was frequently asked to speak on local and national media about educational issues. In 2021, he even spoke publicly about sexual harassment in schools. The irony is sickening. But those who worked with him saw a different side. Teachers described him as autocratic, controlling, a bully who ruled through intimidation. One former colleague told investigators, "You were either in his gang or you were not." Those who challenged him faced consequences. Unfavorable treatment, forced transfers, career destruction. And the ones who stayed silent? They watched as he slowly, methodically, created the perfect environment for abuse. In 2020, Foden appeared before a fitness to practice hearing. He was accused of unacceptable professional conduct toward teaching staff between 2014 and 2016. The hearing found he had singled out a teacher, blaming him for the cancellation of a school trip. He was found guilty of misconduct. But instead of facing consequences, he was promoted. In 2021, despite the professional conduct violations, despite the whispers, despite the concerns, Foden was made strategic head of a second school, Ysgol Dyffryn in Nantel. Now he had 2 schools under his control. More students, more victims, more power. But let's talk about what was really happening behind closed doors. While Niel Foden was giving interviews about school safety, he was systematically grooming vulnerable teenage girls. His method was calculated, sophisticated. He targeted girls who were struggling, girls who were being bullied, girls who needed help. He positioned himself as their savior. One victim, we'll call her Louise, said Foden promised to help when she was being bullied. He made her feel special, protected. But that protection came with a price. The grooming followed a pattern. First, he would establish himself as a confidant, a trusted adult. He'd answer their emails late at night, give them his personal phone number, offer to give them rides home. Then came the physical contact. It always started small, holding hands. He would check if they were comfortable before taking the next step. A hug that lasted too long. His hands moving under their jumpers. His face getting close to theirs, kissing their heads. And then the assaults began. Child A, one of the victims who testified at trial, had been searching the internet for answers. Her search history revealed her internal struggle. How to know if an older man likes you or is grooming you? And how long can you go to jail for grooming and sexual abuse? She knew something was wrong. But Foden had convinced her that what they had was special, secret, something that must stay hidden. The messaging started innocently enough. Then it became sexualized. Hundreds of messages every day, morning, night, during school, after school. He told her he loved her. He made arrangements to meet through text. He would search for locations on Google Maps, secluded country lanes, places where no one would see. He would drive her to these locations in his car. And there he would sexually assault her. When she tried to stop him, he persisted. The control was absolute. Let me walk you through the timeline of abuse that investigators were able to confirm. These are just the cases that made it to trial. Remember, there may be dozens more we'll never know about. January 2019. Foden's predatory behavior toward the girls who would become known as Child A, Child B, Child C, and Child E begins. Or rather, this is when investigators could prove it began. Staff members would later testify they had concerns going back even further. Child E entered into what Foden called a relationship. They met daily. They messaged constantly over WhatsApp. He told her he loved her, that their relationship must remain secret. He sexually assaulted her repeatedly in his car. He took her to hotels on overnight trips. The abuse was systematic, planned, deliberate. Child B described an incident where Foden was alone with her. He grabbed her by the neck, placed his hand at the top of her inner thigh, close to her genitals. The violation was sudden, shocking, and she had nowhere to turn because the person who was supposed to protect students at that school was the one attacking her. Child C was alone with Foden when he put his hand on her leg and pinched her thigh. When she was upset, he hugged her. Then his hand went under her clothes. The line between comfort and assault was deliberately blurred. This is how predators operate. They create confusion, make victims question their own reality. But here's where this case becomes truly enraging. In March 2019, senior staff members at Iskall Friars raised concerns with Singer Gwinnett, the local authority that employed Foden. They reported that he was meeting teenage girls alone, that his behavior was inappropriate, that there were clear boundary violations. The concern was forwarded to a safeguarding officer. But Singer Gwinnett made a decision that would allow Foden to continue abusing children for 4 more years. They decided that because no specific allegations had been made, no formal investigation would take place. Instead, the head of education made a phone call to Foden. He was advised to maintain an appropriate distance from pupils. That was it. A phone call. And the abuse continued. Over the next 4 years, more concerns were raised. In November 2019, supervision notes recorded concerns about Foden's professional boundaries with Child A. He was answering her emails outside school hours. She had his work mobile number. She'd even called an NSPCC practitioner from his phone. In February 2020, 3 months after noting these concerns, the NSPCC made a child protection referral. They specifically mentioned inappropriate professional boundaries. The referral was sent to the local authority. And again, nothing happened. A senior manager at Children and Family Services received the report, but it was treated as a professional issue, not a child protection matter. In March 2023, just 6 months before Foden's arrest, concerns were discussed among senior staff members again. Foden was warned about his behavior, but he was still allowed to continue teaching, still allowed access to vulnerable children. In June 2023, Foden was known to be seeing a vulnerable girl both in his office and outside school premises. But no intervention was made. The pattern was established. Report after report. Concern after concern. And every single time, the system chose to protect the institution over the children. The Child Practice Review that was published in November 2024 revealed something absolutely damning. There were over 50 documented missed opportunities to stop Niel Foden. 50 times when someone could have acted. 50 times when a child could have been saved. But institutional loyalty, fear of Foden's retaliation, and a shocking failure to follow safeguarding procedures allowed him to continue. On September 6, 2023, Child A made the bravest decision of her life. She showed an adult an image of herself with Foden on her phone. She showed them screenshots of their conversations, messages about oral sex, evidence of what this head teacher had been doing to her. The adult acted immediately. Police were called. That afternoon, plain-clothed officers arrived at Iskall Friars. They arrested Niel Foden at his place of work. But in the 45 minutes before police arrived, Foden was frantically deleting evidence from his phone. 17 images that one of the victims had sent him. Photographs and videos. Some of a sexual nature. All stored in a secret folder protected by a password. He thought he could hide it. But forensic investigators would recover everything. Foden was taken to Carnarvon police station for questioning. When detectives asked him about the allegations, he had a prepared response. No comment. To every question, every piece of evidence, every accusation. No comment. 2 days later, on September 8th, he was formally charged with sexual offenses and remanded into custody. And then something remarkable happened. Following his arrest, other victims came forward. Girls who had been carrying this secret, who thought they were alone, who believed no one would believe them. Now they had proof they weren't crazy. Their experiences were real. The police investigation was exhaustive. Detectives from North Wales Police worked closely with the Crown Prosecution Service to build an airtight case. They seized Foden's mobile devices, his computers, his car. What they found painted a picture of a calculated predator. The text messages alone were damning. Hundreds of messages between Foden and his victims. Messages where he professed his love, made plans to meet, discussed sexual acts. Financial inquiries revealed hotel bookings. Trips he'd taken with the girls under the guise of educational opportunities. During the car search, officers found a pair of handcuffs. Forensic examination revealed DNA consistent with being from Foden and one of the alleged victims. When investigators examined Foden's laptop, they discovered he'd been accessing material related to girls and urination between 2010 and 2012, a specific fetish that had manifested in his crimes. The prosecution also had something powerful: video evidence. A recording showed Foden in the driver's seat of his car, reaching back to hold the hand of child A as she sat in the back. The intimacy was inappropriate. The power dynamic clear. This wasn't a teacher helping a student. This was a predator with his prey. But Foden maintained his innocence, even when presented with overwhelming evidence. In a statement to police, he claimed that a medical condition meant he couldn't have done, even if I had wanted to. He said there was very little point in arranging a sexual liaison I couldn't fulfill. It was a lie, and the jury would see through it. The trial began on April 22, 2024 at Mold Crown Court. Niel Foden faced 20 charges. 13 counts of sexual activity with a child. 2 counts of sexual activity with a child while in a position of trust. Causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity. Attempting to arrange the commission of a child sex offense. Sexual communication with a child. Possession of indecent photographs of a child. And sexual assault of a child under 13. The jury consisted of 7 women and 5 men. Over 3.5 weeks, they would hear testimony that would shock them. Prosecutor John Philpotts laid out the case systematically. He showed the jury the progression of Foden's grooming behavior. How holding hands turned into hugs. How hugs turned into kisses. How kisses turned into sexual assaults. He reminded the jury of child A's internet searches. Her desperate attempt to understand what was happening to her. Her confusion about whether what Foden was doing was wrong or whether she was special to him. The prosecution argued that Foden groomed the girls by making them believe nobody would ever think this respected head teacher capable of doing wrong. Foden's defense attorney, Duncan Bold, took a different approach. He argued there was no forensic evidence, that inconsistencies existed in the victims' testimonies. He asked the jury why Niel Foden would suddenly go from a well-respected head teacher to a sexual predator. He told them that Foden had over 40 years in education with no history of improper sexual behavior, except for these allegations. The defense tried to paint the accusations as a lurid fantasy, but they couldn't explain away the text messages, the deleted photos, the DNA evidence, the witness testimonies from staff who had raised concerns, the pattern of behavior documented over years. The victims took the stand. Can you imagine the courage that took? To sit in a courtroom and face the man who abused you. To relive the trauma in front of strangers. To be cross-examined by defense attorneys trying to poke holes in your story. But they did it. Each one of them stood up and told the truth. One victim's statement, read at sentencing, captured the devastating impact. I have lost all of my friends and I feel lonely and isolated. My future just feels hopeless. Another said Foden had torn a huge part of her life away that she doesn't think she can get back. It hurts because I trusted him. He has taken my trust in people away from me. Throughout the trial, Foden sat in the dock wearing a blue jacket and jeans. Occasionally, he shook his head as testimony was presented. When confronted with evidence, he showed no emotion, no remorse, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. After just over a day of deliberation on May 15, 2024, the jury returned their verdict. Guilty. Guilty on 19 of the 20 charges. Only one charge of sexual activity with a child was dismissed. For the other 19 counts, the evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. The respected head teacher was a convicted sex offender. When the verdicts were read, Foden stared ahead. His face was expressionless. No tears, no shock, just cold silence. The mask had finally slipped, but underneath was nothing but emptiness. On July 1, 2024, Niel Foden returned to Mold Crown Court for sentencing. Judge Rhys Rollins presided, and he did not hold back. Judge Rollins described Foden as depraved, arrogant, and a bully. He said Foden was a bombastic and domineering character, with an obsession with young teenage girls. The judge told Foden directly, "You felt like no one would stand up to you. You believed the victims would never disclose. It is clear that were it not for the courage of the victims and support offered by their families and the thoroughness of the investigation by police, there is every possibility you would have continued to offend." Judge Rollins also had harsh words for singer Gwyneth. He criticized the council for not investigating concerns about Foden meeting girls alone as far back as 2019. "It does appear to me that when real concerns were raised with the council in 2019 they were dismissed. No note was even taken of anything that was said. We now know he continued to offend. That's very concerning indeed." The judge suggested that the council's failure to act may have emboldened Foden to continue his behavior. When an institution signals that someone is untouchable, when they ignore red flags and dismiss concerns, they send a message to predators. You can get away with it. And Niel Foden did get away with it. For years. Judge Rollins continued, "The fact you were well thought of as a head teacher has a hollow ring to it. You were living a lie." He noted there was precious little by way of meaningful mitigation. Foden had shown no remorse, had never admitted guilt, had put his victims through the trauma of a trial rather than accepting responsibility. The sentence was handed down. 17 years imprisonment. Foden must serve at least 2/3 of the sentence before being considered for release. He was placed on the sex offenders register for life. A sexual harm prevention order was imposed for life. A 10-year restraining order prohibited him from contacting his victims. And he was barred from teaching indefinitely. Foden kept his head bowed throughout the sentencing. His face remained expressionless when asked to stand. Even in this moment, facing the consequences of his actions, he refused to show any humanity, any recognition of the pain he'd caused. But there was a cruel twist that emerged months later. In December 2024, it was revealed that Foden would actually be released after serving only half his sentence, not 2/3 as the judge had stated. Under UK sentencing guidelines, because the maximum sentence for his most serious offense was 14 years, he would automatically be released at the halfway mark. That means after just 8.5 years, Niel Foden could be free. Following Foden's conviction, the North Wales Safeguarding Board commissioned a child practice review. Jan Pickles OBE was appointed to lead the independent investigation. Pickles is an experienced social worker who has overseen other serious inquiries, including reviews into sexual abuse on Calday Island and the murder of 5-year-old Logan Mwangi. The review was originally scheduled for publication in September 2024. But just hours before it was due to be released, the board announced a delay. They needed to consider their legal obligations and information sharing. The delay caused outrage among victims and their families who had been promised answers. Finally, on November 4, 2024, the report was published. Titled, "Our Bravery Brought Justice," to honor the victims' courage, it consisted of 107 pages of damning findings. And what it revealed was even worse than anyone imagined. The review found over 50 missed opportunities to intervene and stop Niel Foden from sexually abusing children. 50 documented instances where the system failed. Where someone should have acted but didn't. The report detailed one occasion where Foden accompanied a child to a hospital gynecological appointment without the child's parents' knowledge. Think about that. A head teacher taking a student to an intimate medical appointment without parental consent or knowledge. And no one questioned it. Jan Pickles described the findings as showing systemic failure at all points across the system. She told reporters, "What we saw was systemic failure. Iskall Friars failed, the education department failed, children's services failed, the local authority failed." She continued, "He was a sophisticated pedophile who ran a reign of terror for many years. He created a climate and a culture where he could do what he wanted." The report revealed that Foden had groomed not just his victims but the entire environment. He appointed himself as pastoral lead at the school. He took on oversight of safeguarding matters. He was supported by an office staff member who wasn't trained in safeguarding. He appointed a new deputy head and designated safeguarding person who had little training or experience. Foden created an atmosphere of fear and mistrust. Teachers who challenged him faced retaliation. Parents who complained found there was no recourse. Governors lacked the understanding and empowerment to hold him accountable. He manipulated policies to defend his actions. And when anyone reported concerns about his contact with vulnerable female pupils, both he and the professionals working with him cited offering counseling support as justification for one-on-one contact with students. The review made 27 recommendations designed to bring about what Pickles called the most significant change in safeguarding in schools in Wales in a generation. These included mandatory training, clearer reporting procedures, oversight of head teachers' one-on-one interactions with students, and consequences for professionals who fail to act on concerns. Nia Jeffries, leader of Singer Gwynedd, issued a public apology. "We know of a series of opportunities that Singer Gwynedd missed to stop the pedophile, Niel Foden. These failures had a terrible impact on the victims, and they are the ones who are at the forefront of my mind today. As leader of the council, I apologize to them from the bottom of my heart. The council is supposed to keep the children of Gwynedd safe, but in this case, we failed. It hurts because I trusted him. He has taken my trust in people away from me." Throughout the trial, Foden sat in the dock wearing a blue jacket and jeans. Occasionally, he shook his head as testimony was presented. When confronted with evidence, he showed no emotion, no remorse, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. After just over a day of deliberation on May 15, 2024, the jury returned their verdict. Guilty. Guilty on 19 of the 20 charges. Only one charge of sexual activity with a child was dismissed. For the other 19 counts, the evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. The respected head teacher was a convicted sex offender. When the verdicts were read, Foden stared ahead. His face was expressionless. No tears, no shock, just cold silence. The mask had finally slipped, but underneath was nothing but emptiness. On July 1, 2024, Niel Foden returned to Mold Crown Court for sentencing. Judge Rhys Rowlands presided, and he did not hold back. Judge Rowlands described Foden as depraved, arrogant, and a bully. He said Foden was a bombastic and domineering character, with an obsession with young teenage girls. The judge told Foden directly, "You felt like no one would stand up to you. You believed the victims would never disclose. It is clear that, were it not for the courage of the victims and support offered by their families and the thoroughness of the investigation by police, there is every possibility you would have continued to offend." Judge Rowlands also had harsh words for Singer Gwynedd. He criticized the council for not investigating concerns about Foden meeting girls alone as far back as 2019. "It does appear to me that when real concerns were raised with the council in 2019 they were dismissed. No note was even taken of anything that was said. We now know he continued to offend. That's very concerning indeed." The judge suggested that the council's failure to act may have emboldened Foden to continue his behavior. When an institution signals that someone is untouchable, when they ignore red flags and dismiss concerns, they send a message to predators. You can get away with it. And Niel Foden did get away with it. For years. Judge Rowlands continued, "The fact you were well thought of as a head teacher has a hollow ring to it. You were living a lie." He noted there was precious little by way of meaningful mitigation. Foden had shown no remorse, had never admitted guilt, had put his victims through the trauma of a trial rather than accepting responsibility. The sentence was handed down. 17 years imprisonment. Foden must serve at least 2/3 of the sentence before being considered for release. He was placed on the sex offenders register for life. A sexual harm prevention order was imposed for life. A 10-year restraining order prohibited him from contacting his victims. And he was barred from teaching indefinitely. Foden kept his head bowed throughout the sentencing. His face remained expressionless when asked to stand. Even in this moment, facing the consequences of his actions, he refused to show any humanity, any recognition of the pain he'd caused. But there was a cruel twist that emerged months later. In December 2024, it was revealed that Foden would actually be released after serving only half his sentence, not 2/3 as the judge had stated. Under UK sentencing guidelines, because the maximum sentence for his most serious offense was 14 years, he would automatically be released at the halfway mark. That means after just 8.5 years, Niel Foden could be free. Following Foden's conviction, the North Wales Safeguarding Board commissioned a child practice review. Jan Pickles OBE was appointed to lead the independent investigation. Pickles is an experienced social worker who has overseen other serious inquiries, including reviews into sexual abuse on Calday Island and the murder of 5-year-old Logan Mwangi. The review was originally scheduled for publication in September 2024. But just hours before it was due to be released, the board announced a delay. They needed to consider their legal obligations and information sharing. The delay caused outrage among victims and their families who had been promised answers. Finally, on November 4, 2024, the report was published. Titled, "Our Bravery Brought Justice," to honor the victims' courage, it consisted of 107 pages of damning findings. And what it revealed was even worse than anyone imagined. The review found over 50 missed opportunities to intervene and stop Niel Foden from sexually abusing children. 50 documented instances where the system failed, where someone should have acted but didn't. The report detailed one occasion where Foden accompanied a child to a hospital gynecological appointment without the child's parents' knowledge. Think about that. A head teacher taking a student to an intimate medical appointment without parental consent or knowledge. And no one questioned it. Jan Pickles described the findings as showing systemic failure at all points across the system. She told reporters, "What we saw was systemic failure. Iskall Friars failed, the education department failed, children's services failed, the local authority failed." She continued, "He was a sophisticated pedophile who ran a reign of terror for many years. He'd created a climate and a culture where he could do what he wanted." The report revealed that Foden had groomed not just his victims but the entire environment. He appointed himself as pastoral lead at the school. He took on oversight of safeguarding matters. He was supported by an office staff member who wasn't trained in safeguarding. He appointed a new deputy head and designated safeguarding person who had little training or experience. Foden created an atmosphere of fear and mistrust. Teachers who challenged him faced retaliation. Parents who complained found there was no recourse. Governors lacked the understanding and empowerment to hold him accountable. He manipulated policies to defend his actions. And when anyone reported concerns about his contact with vulnerable female pupils, both he and the professionals working with him cited offering counseling support as justification for one-on-one contact with students. The review made 27 recommendations designed to bring about what Pickles called the most significant change in safeguarding in schools in Wales in a generation. These included mandatory training, clearer reporting procedures, oversight of head teachers' one-on-one interactions with students, and consequences for professionals who failed to act on concerns. Nia Jeffries, leader of Singer Gwynedd, issued a public apology. "We know of a series of opportunities that Singer Gwynedd missed to stop the pedophile, Niel Foden. These failures had a terrible impact on the victims, and they are the ones who are at the forefront of my mind today. As leader of the council, I apologize to them from the bottom of my heart. The council is supposed to keep the children of Gwynedd safe, but in this case, we failed. We need to make it easier for victims to be heard, to be believed, to get justice." The Welsh Government has accepted all 27 recommendations from the review in full. Education Secretary Lynn Neagle stated, "We are determined to prevent this happening again. But words aren't enough. Implementation is what matters. Following through is what counts. Creating a culture where children are believed and protected is the only acceptable outcome." This brings us to a critical question. How many more Niel Fodens are out there right now? How many respected teachers, coaches, youth leaders, or mentors are using their positions to abuse children? How many institutions are turning a blind eye to warning signs because they don't want to believe someone in power could be a predator? I want you to think about that, and I want you to leave a comment below. What do you think needs to change in our education system to prevent cases like this? Do you think mandatory reporting laws are enough? Should there be term limits for school administrators? Should there be more robust background checks and monitoring? What would you do differently? Your voice matters. Your perspective matters. And the more we talk about these issues, the more awareness we create, the harder it becomes for predators to hide. So hit that like button, share this video, start conversations, because silence is what allows abuse to continue. And if you or someone you know has experienced abuse, please know that you are not alone. There are resources available, organizations that specialize in supporting survivors. You deserve to be heard. You deserve justice. Your story matters. Before you go, I need to tell you about what's coming next. In my next video, I'm going to break down another case that shook an entire community to its core. A respected doctor, a trusted hospital, and a trail of victims spanning decades. You won't believe how long this predator operated in plain sight. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss it. Until then, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, if something feels wrong, speak up. It might just save a child's life.